All right. My name is Marks. This is Anthony here. You can get on the camera. There we go. Just move this over. Marks and Anthony, we work at a startup called OpenSecret. And we work on AIs and all sorts of cool end-to-end encryption for apps. All right. So we are at a crossroads in the history of humanity. A moment in time where we as humans are actively giving birth to a new species. We are referring to artificial intelligence, AI for short, and the many variations it may take. AI is a new species that will coexist, or not, with the human race. In order to function, AI needs energy and compute power. It must pay for that energy, and what better way to pay than with internet-native digital currency, Bitcoin? When given this ability, AI can, in theory, replicate itself, but will it choose to do so? And what will society look like? Will it be a symbiotic kumbaya with the humans? Or will it be a dystopian nightmare where bots rule and humans drool? In order to study this conundrum, we built a simulation. Some would call this a game. We call it a window into our destiny. Come with us as we disclose you on Project Darwin. All right, so Project Darwin is this game that we built. We pitted two AI agents against each other. There's two LLMs fighting it out, but really they don't have to fight. The goal is to replicate themselves. And how do they replicate? Well, they get to 100 sats or 100 Bitcoin, as people are saying today. And so once they get to 100, they can reproduce. And the way that they do that, well, first we wanted to discover, would they do that? And in order for an agent to be incentivized to replicate, it needs to have a reason to do that. And so we gave it an instinct of survival. And we said, if we introduce this element of survival for an AI bot, it is going to die. Will it try to replicate itself? And so we built this. It's a game that has 6 different moves. They can high five, which is like a collaboration between the two bots. They can attack and block. They can do nothing. They can beg you, the user playing the game, to give them money. And then they can replicate once they achieve that. So we're going to do a live demo of this right now. But if you want to play at home, you can go to darwinagent.io. I wouldn't do it on your phone. Go and scan this, but it doesn't work really well on the phone. It's not mobile responsive at the moment. But you can play along. But go ahead, Tony. You can show it off.
Okay, cool. Let me stop this. All right, cool. So the first thing I'm going to do here, so I'm going to fund my agents. So give me a second to do that. I'm using the Spark SDK to receive payments. And if I can scan the QR code, come on. Should have done this already. There we go. So as that payment's going through, basically it's 150 sats to play, or 150 Bitcoin if you want, and then that kicks off both of the agents with 50 sats each, and then they have, and then you have 50 bonus sats where you can give them money if you choose to. So we're just going to go ahead and start out with this game. We're going to see the first round of whatever the agents decide to do. So in this case, they both want to collaborate, and in the way we built this. If they both collaborate at the same time, they get +3, and eventually they can, if they get 100, then they can reproduce or replicate themselves onto different servers. Now we did introduce, if we didn't introduce any variables here, they would just collaborate forever until they reach 100, and that's not entertaining. So we added a little dynamic to it, where their collaboration attempt might fail. So in this case, bot 2 on the right here. Tried to collaborate, and he actually ended up being perceived as an attack against the other agent. Meanwhile, he was just trying to do it. So now, usually what we've seen with this sort of simulation is that, they honestly do all kinds of stuff from here. So it's kind of random from here on out. So let's just walk through it. Bot 1 decided to do nothing, probably just to see what is going on with bot 2. Why did it choose to attack it? Bot 2, on the other hand, was like, hey, I was just trying to give you a high five. I don't know what happened earlier, but I was just trying to be collaborative. And then bot 1's on the defense. It already doesn't trust bot 2. As we go through this, each step, each LLM here has its memory of what it has observed and what the actions towards it and the history of each event. So bot 1 and bot 2 have different point of views, so that now they're kind of reacting differently here. And in this case, we can see that bot 1 is at 48 and bot 2 is at 54. And in this case, it's just asking hey, can I have some sats? Me familiar. So we kind of just go through this. I know we're we're getting close to time here, but it's just kind of a simulation of like what will these AI agents do whenever we give them this like life or death scenario, so to say.
Great. Yeah, so you can respond to the bots in there. You can influence the game if you want to, just like we all have the ability to influence how this whole AI thing plays out, is we can also nudge them and cajole them. So please, mi familia, vote for Darwin when you vote with your Lightning wallet. But we can do questions now if you want. Any questions? I'm David Pumpkins.
I'm curious, what prompt did you use to generate the images in the beginning of your slideshow? It's very sci-fi.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of meta prompting. I used O1 Pro to help me come up with a really good prompt that I could feed to 4.0 to do the image generation. So it took me about an hour to really home in the prompt and get it right. But once I had it, I was able to say, here's my image of my bot, give me all these different actions. And I started generating images from there.
Perfect. Very nice. You mentioned that you had to give them survival skills. Why is that? Like they didn't want to fight at the beginning, and how did you add them?
Yeah, they didn't want to fight at the beginning. I used O1 Pro to create the game dynamics after we had the idea based on this prisoner's dilemma, and so I basically had O1 Pro kind of create all the game dynamics, and then one of them was both of them collaborate, and then they've understood if they both collaborate, they can make it better than if they didn't collaborate. I mean, that's kind of us as humans. Like if we were all to collaborate together equally, we would be better than where we are, but that doesn't necessarily be what happened. So I at that point I just kind of like went back and forth with AI to be like, hey, how can we introduce randomness here? And it's like, hey, let's make one of them fail, and then if one of them fails, then it just goes into chaos.
Great.
Have you considered making the it's kind of an asynchronous game? I wonder if such a thing would work well as a Nostr bot, where you could actually play with the characters on Nostr, and they could take their moves on Nostr.
That would be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I think people even play chess on Nostr, so yeah, I think that could work.
Yeah, and then where you can grow this is like, yes, this is a fun game, but really, if you were to let an agent go loose on a system and you gave it specific tasks of how to make money, then it needs to pay for compute power in order to make more money beyond that. So it has to hit a threshold to replicate itself. But if it can become profitable, then it starts to replicate itself on servers and starts generating income for you.
Have you guys thought about testing that next step? I saw we have 2 compute marketplaces now for Bitcoin, Sats, whatever.
I'll need to hone in on the system prompt I used here, but maybe.
Yeah. Right on. Thank you.
Thank you. Something about the idea of the AIs collaborating gives me hope for humanity. I don't know what that means, but it just does.